Hello and welcome to the Scottish Roadscast, a podcast all about Scotland's roads, bridges and motorways. I'm John Hassel.
And I'm Stuart Baird. This month, John, we're going to be talking all about Scotland's current road projects. That's things like City Deal, trunk road projects, all these sorts of things that you hear about on the news or read in the paper. And we're going to give you an update of the status of them, tell you where they are, what they are, how much they cost, all of that sort of thing. It's been a while since we've done this.
It has, yeah. I think it's been at least a year and a half, something like that. And I think a lot of people listening to this probably remember when we've done this before and are keen to find out what's been happening.
Yeah.
You know?
And in fairness, there's a lot happening at local authority level.
Yes.
And I think that's where people really...
And you don't often hear of that sometimes because it's often the bigger projects and stuff like that. So it's good to kind of round these off. We've certainly spent a bit of time looking into it.
Yeah. There's a few sort of financial options open to local authorities at the minute. We've obviously had the city deals in the city regions that have been on the go for a few years now.
Yes.
That's UK government and Scottish government funding. And there's also this new thing from the UK government called the Levelling Up Fund. And local authorities are able to make bids to the UK government for money to take certain projects forward.
I hear this term levelling up all the time. So it's a case of not everyone gets it. Is it a case you have to bid for that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the local authorities put in bids for projects that they want to take forward, asking for the money to meet that. And I think there's tiers, so it's like up to 20 million, 20 to 50 million, and 50 million and over. Oh, okay. And if
that's
projects
very similar to we before they had things like the European Regional Development Fund. It's a similar kind of model.
That levelling up fund was designed to replace elements of that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that's the sort of things that are on the go. So I'm going to ask you to kick off.
Okay.
Because I think that makes sense. And we're going to start off with, we're going to work around about the west, then we're going to go east, then we're going to go north.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully we cover everything, but I know that, you know, our listeners might be like, well, you never spoke about this particular thing, and I can apologise about that. But you know what? If there's something we haven't mentioned and it's pretty cool and you want to share, speak to us about it, send us a message.
Definitely.
We'll talk all about it next time. So we'll start in the kind of west of Scotland. So I'd say Renfrewshire.
Yeah.
Is a good place to start.
Starting point, yeah.
Renfrewshire is always a good starting point. So we've got the big one there that's happening around the airport, the Glasgow Airport Investment Area. This is the one being done by Willis Brothers.
Oh, Wills Brothers.
Yeah,
the Irish contractor. Yeah.
They do quite a lot of jobs, especially, I'd say like smaller jobs.
Yeah. Because they're doing a couple of other ones we're going to talk about later, I've noticed as well. Yep. Right, okay, so this airport investment area then, now to me, I'm thinking this is the one where they're building that new business park just to the east of Glasgow Airport.
Yes.
Around the south, the Abbotsinch Road.
That's right. So the whole thing, the scheme is called Glasgow Airport Investment Area, and it's not just roads, but it's creating a kind of a business park, kind of a industrial area.
Yeah.
But it's split down into these four components that I'll list out here. So the Abbotsinch Road, so that's the one that's going from kind of Paisley and it goes out towards the Bascule Bridge.
That goes under the White Cart Viaduct as well.
Yes, it does. A little motorway reference in there, Stuart. I love it. Abbotsinch Road, so that's being realigned, upgraded and extended with the kind of accompanying pedestrian cycle lanes to create a route through the Netherton campus, which is what they're calling it.
Is this the business park? Yeah.
That's right, which is the central site of this manufacturing district that's all part of this investment area. So you can see that with the road here, previously the road just kind of went straight.
Yeah.
And now it kind of, it's roundabouts in there, it dog legs back towards the watercourse and then goes back out again. So you won't have quite a straighter route, but you will have a much improved route, and particularly about cycling and walking, which is good. There's some more cool stuff. There's a new 2-lane bridge for pedestrians, cyclists and commercial traffic, which goes actually across the White Cart River from an approach road from Arran Avenue, which is on the west side, I believe, to Wright Street, which I believe is on the east side, which is in Renfrew. Yeah. So it's now easier to get to like the Westway in Renfrew from this area, which kind of makes sense since that's also an industrial area. The whole thing links up. And that's actually a road bridge as well. And pedestrian stuff. So Renfrew is even better connected now.
And much of this is completed already, I believe.
It's ongoing construction. The bridge itself's actually been completed, but there's still a lot of work going on either side of it.
Okay.
This is where someone comes in and corrects us and went, I drove over them.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, I mean, I admit it's months.
It's been ages since I've been
down there. It's a long
down
time
there.
since I was down there. I'll need to go a drive to see what's
Absolutely.
going on.
But what has been in for a little while is the pedestrian and cycle bridge over the Black Cart, which connects kind of Abbotsinch Road to Greenock Road. So there's a masonry arch bridge that's always carried the A8 there, which no sensible person would walk over that.
It's very narrow, yeah.
Yes.
Is that the one with the traffic lights and it controls one-way flow at a time?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not over the bridge, but the junction immediately to the, I would say, like the southeast of the bridge.
Right, okay.
Just before you go over the Basquiat Bridge.
Right.
So it wasn't great for walking or cycling and stuff like that. So this new pedestrian bridge is just a lot safer.
Okay. No, that sounds interesting. Yeah.
So they are kind of they're junction improvements and connections to existing cycle and pedestrian routes, which kind of links up these cycling corridors that they've got going towards, like in Shinnin and all these other places as well.
Yeah.
So no, that's what's happening with that. We need to go down and see it though, Stuart. That's something I'm going to take from that.
A good excuse for a drive down there to see what's happening. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it gets better.
Right.
Okay. So this is another project. This is known as the Yoker Renfrew Bridge. Now, a lot of people might know about this one. This is a plan, of course, to connect Yoker to Renfrew over the Clyde. Brand new swinging bridge that they've got there. That's been Graham Construction were awarded this one.
Yeah.
So this 2-lane bridge will accommodate vehicles, pedestrians and cyclists. It will also swing open to allow ships to go through. It spans 184 metres from Renfrew to the boundary between Yoka and Clyde Bank. Now, at the moment, preparation works are ongoing at Argyle Avenue because there is a new road involved in this. Now, this used to be known as the Renfrew Northern Relief Road.
Right, okay.
So this has kind of been incorporated into this now.
Yeah.
So they've done, I believe they've done kind of tree felling works and stuff like that because the bridge itself, and I wrongly believed this. I always thought this bridge was to replace it where the ferry was. It was going to exactly be where the Renfrew Yoker ferry is. It's not. It's actually slightly further west.
Right. Okay.
Go on their website. Just Google Yoker Renfrew Bridge, and there's a fantastic YouTube video that gives you a fly through about how it's all going to look.
Right, I will definitely check that out.
Please do. There's certain other preparation works they're doing. They're putting in a culvert in Yoker, north abutment, south abutment, and things like that. They're putting in preparation.
That's all happening this year, this financial year.
Yeah, well, 22 to 23.
Yep.
23 to 24 is actually when they're going to be constructing this new, what they call a double leaf swing bridge.
Right.
And then they have the commissioning and testing and looking to get it completed by 2025.
Interesting.
How good will that be? Like, say you stay in Clydebank and you need to get to Bray Head, or you want to go visit friends in Renfrew or Paisley or something like that. Alternatively, it gives people some options.
Yeah, and one of the things I always thought was a good selling point about that, Renfrew and Bray Head, no access to the railway network.
Yeah.
It's just a quick hop across the Yoker railway station.
Okay.
Once that's all completed. So
it kind of makes sense. And it's open to pedestrians as well. It's... two-way traffic, single carriageway. Do you think that'll be enough, Stuart? Clyde Tunnel, it's dual carriageway. Erskine Bridge, obviously, dual carriageway.
I think that this bridge may find itself busy on days where there is an incident in either the Clyde Tunnel or the Erskine Bridge.
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see how the two lanes cope. The other thing that's interesting about this, I read that when it's opening to allow ships to pass, it could take up to 45 minutes to allow for the opening, the passing, and the closing of
Goodness
the bridge.
me, I hope they've got like a coffee shop next to it then. So waiting around for that long is going to be something else.
That could take a bit of time. Now, I don't know how frequently now ships come up and down there, a couple of times a week maybe. That could be interesting to see how that operates.
Just imagine when it's open. I can imagine the moaning and the complaints. People go, I was stuck here for ages. I know my luck. Whenever I want to use it, that'll probably happen to me. But it's cool. I don't know if it will be a strategic corridor. I don't know if they geared it for that.
No, I don't, and it's not designed like that either. Yeah. Interestingly, the original proposal for the Clyde Tunnel was this far downstream.
Oh, was it?
Yes. Yeah. Before they decided to pull that back nearer the city centre.
Lint House, as they
if
called
you
it.
go back and look at the Abercrombie reports and even some of the early 50s stuff, you'll see that there was a tunnel proposed down there. Yeah. At one point before they moved and decided to
put it there.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. You've ended up winning in the end because you have a tunnel and a bridge now, Stuart.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So there we go. No, terrific. Absolutely terrific.
Cost-wise, I think that's coming out about 80 million, isn't it? We don't have the specific cost, but
We don't. We were so busy researching other things, but we'll get that information, and certainly when we do an update to these things, hopefully the Roadscast is still going in 2025, and we can be like, we've driven over it, and it was this, and it was completely on this.
You never know.
Might be cool. Okay, all right. What's next, Stuart? I think it's your turn now.
My turn. It's East Renfrewshire next, because they have an active city deal scheme in the go as well. Just one other thing, just I'll mention, in the Renfrewshire one, I think that the proposal for the light rail tram type connection to the airport from Glasgow is part of city deal as well, but because it's non-road, we've kind of skipped over that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it is the Roadscast, so we're focusing mostly on road-related things.
Yeah. All right, so from an East Renfrewshire point of view, they had a few projects that were going to be funded. Now, they had this overarching project name, which was like the M77 corridor improvements. And the biggest single scheme really within that was improvements to the roads between Newton Mearns and Barrhead. So they're trying to improve connectivity between their main towns.
So from this M77 going across to Barrhead Nielsen.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the biggest scheme within the whole project is the improvement to Orrs Road, which is the one that goes from Barrhead all the way up to Newton Mearns, running alongside the reservoirs.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually crosses the M77.
It's a windy road, isn't it? Yeah.
So the original proposal was really to straighten the road out and remove an old weak bridge and various things. But because of costs and things like that, there have been some changes. So it says here, so originally it was planned to straighten the road and strengthen a weak bridge. But the scheme has been changed to include 2 sections of realignment, a roundabout, replacement of the weak road bridge, and a boardwalk along the edge of the Balgrey Reservoir. Okay.
Boardwalk sounds interesting.
Yeah. There were proposals as well for the country park up there, but they are now under review with an expectation that there will be a focus on a smaller scale and less expensive visitor centre than some of the major visitor centre proposals that had been looked at in the past.
Okay.
Now, anybody who's used Orrs Road will know that it is quite a windy, weavy road.
Yeah.
It's not really the best way to access Barrhead from the M77, so you can see why they would want to improve that.
Well, I think where it ends up spitting you out in Newton Mearns. It doesn't. I think then you've got to go down the road to get on at Junction 4.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes into Newton Mearns. Yeah.
They are also including 4 kilometres of new walking and cycling infrastructure as part of that proposal, and there will be an upgrade to some of the other existing paths as well. It says here that the latest update we found for this was December last year. It said that work was scheduled to start in 2023 and finish in September 2024.
Okay.
So that
nothing happening on the ground yet then?
Not yet by the looks of things, yeah. There are a number of other projects that East Renfrewshire were considering non-road related. Some of them have been delayed slightly as well because of cost changes and business case
I heard
updates.
Again, not road related. They wanted to put in a Barrhead South railway station.
That's one of the things they are looking at apparently, and I think that is being reviewed because costs have increased and they're looking to improve sort of lift access and stuff to the platforms, and as you know, there's obviously a lot of inflation at the minute. Prices are going up, and railway work can be expensive at the best of times.
This is an interesting time to do this. When you talk about costs, we all talk about cost of living and stuff, but the construction costs have increased massively, causing a lot of the people looking at it as project managers and then people holding the purse strings to go, well, let's prioritise certain things and let's maybe reevaluate and relook at this.
I read recently, so we're talking about inflation for you and I buying things and whatnot.
A weekly
10%,
shops.
say 9-10%, but I think someone said recently that construction inflation was sitting at somewhere between 15 and 20%.
Yeah.
So it's even higher again.
You can imagine what that's doing to contractors and also to clients.
And the supply of material and stuff coming, like Ukraine, for example, supplied, I think, something like a third of Europe's steel. Obviously, that's now not happening. So there's supply issues there. That's forced costs up elsewhere. So, yeah, it's having an overall effect on things.
Why can't things just be simple?
They never are.
They never are.
Yes.
Okay.
That's all we have to see on East Renfrewshire. So I'm just going to continue into Glasgow. Okay. Because there's actually not a great deal of detail about Glasgow's proposals either. So we'll talk about a couple of the headline things. The main thing really is, it's actually non-roads related, but it's the most recent one, is the Govan to Partick Footbridge. So that's a £29.5 million scheme under construction at the moment by Farron's Construction.
Is that the Riverside one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that takes you from the Riverside Museum right across to Govan.
Oh, that'll be terrific.
Yeah, that'll be. Do
you know what annoys me? I love the Riverside Museum. Obviously, it's a transport museum. Yeah. You can only get there by car. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? It'd be good to be able to use a subway, go to Govan, or maybe park in Govan and then go across over
the river. Yeah. So that one's very big at the minute. Now, costs on this had increased. and that actually led to the delay of 8 other projects in Glasgow to allow that one to go ahead first. So there was like improvements to walkways between Pacific Quay and Cessnock Underground Station, subway station, sorry. I'll get slapped for saying underground. That was
you're decades out of date with that.
That was one of the ones that was put on hold, and a couple of other active travel schemes were paused as well. The other large-scale city deal scheme underway in Glasgow is the Sighthill Footbridge.
Oh yeah, well that's the one, of course, going over the M8 that we all see and know, the weathered steel.
Yes, yeah, that's due for completion later this year. £19 million, constructed by BAM Nuttall. That's part of the wider £250 million Sighthill development scheme that's on
big project.
Yeah, first new footbridge over the M8 in Glasgow since the Hillington footbridge was replaced a few years ago.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see that finish. Get some good views from up there. It'll be landscaped across as well. Now, the other major Glasgow roads projects that are being proposed at the minute are the Avenues projects.
So what we've seen in Sauchiehall Street is an Avenues project. So are they doing more of this?
Yeah, so as it stands at the moment, all we have is Sauchiehall Street. That was the first one to go ahead. There are a few others coming down the line. Argyle Street, Broomielaw, Woodsides, there's an Underlines project proposed up at St George's Cross. There are a number of these coming down the line, and these all are part of Glasgow City Council's plans to try and reduce traffic within the city centre by 30%.
Okay.
By reducing, by giving more space back to pedestrians and
making it more attractive for people to cycle. The Avenues, I hope I don't lose a few listeners here, but I end up saying, I actually quite like the look of the Avenues on Sauchiehall Street.
Okay.
I think it looks good. I however have heard a few opinions from pedestrians or people cycling on it that quite a lot of the time you get people kind of walking in the way of people trying to cycle along it, and things like that. So it's not really people, motorists, who've moaned about it, but more of the pedestrians and also the cyclists. It's maybe not been one of these projects that's been segregated that well. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe we're just not used to that shared space yet.
Sauchiehall Street was a good example because, let's be honest, we've discussed many times over the years on various topics about how Sauchiehall Street was one of the main thoroughfares that was emptied by the construction of the ring road, the motorway around the north of the city centre. So there is a debate to be had again about the purpose of the motorway and how it keeps traffic off of the surface streets, at peak hours, and that enables the construction of these Avenues projects, without having a major disruption, to traffic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can think of a corridor in town arterial that doesn't have a motorway equivalent at the moment, and you were to put an Avenues on that, it wouldn't fly. Yeah,
it wouldn't be just so clever.
No.
So it's good to see that Sauchiehall Street, I think, has been a great success, and it'll be interesting to see some of the other ones as they come along.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Can I ask you another thing? Just quickly going back to the Sighthill Footbridge.
Sure.
What do you think of the look of it? Do you like it?
Well, weathering steel is always interesting.
So can you explain a wee bit about it? Why do we use that? I mean, it's a lot. Some people have just said, "Oh, it looks rusty." Why didn't they paint it before they put it out?
It is rusty. So basically, the steel that's used in the construction has a rusted, corroded coating. So it's steel that has been exposed to the elements and has started to corrode. It corrodes evenly. Now that patina that is on the surface actually creates like a protective layer. So it slows down the corrosion, so it doesn't, continue to rust all the way through, so that it rots away to nothing.
Right.
So that basically becomes a protective layer on the surface. Now it will darken down. It starts off very orangey, right, very copper orange. But when you think of the bridges over the Edinburgh City Bypass, Junction 1 to 2, they're weathering steel very dark brown now after all those years.
Yeah, the M8 extension.
Right?
Yeah. Some parts of the A9 as well.
Yeah, so it'll start to darken down. It'll look a bit more natural. It saves on painting costs. You've got a big bridge like that above a very busy motorway. You don't want to have to begin in there and painting that every 15, 20 years. So it's quite a sensible option, I think. So it saves on those types of costs. And I think it looks
That's interesting, just from a layman's perspective. I'm actually not a bridge engineer. I deal with roads and stuff like that. But you must think, rust, steel, that's not a good thing.
But it's controlled.
But it's controlled.
We've been using bridges like that since, since
amazing way of
70s.
using a disadvantage to an advantage.
Yeah. There are some out there who, some experts will know that originally British Steel marketed a product here called Corton Steel.
Right.
That was early weathering steel bridges that were used. The first example in Scotland that I'm aware of is up in the M80 up at Seabegs, which is just north of Hags. And you'll see a bridge up there. There's a portal, sits over the motorway. It's two rusty steel columns and a rusty beam or what looks like a rusty beam over the motorway.
Right.
That was one of the first that I'm aware of in Scotland. But as you said, on the A9, there are a few.
There are. They use them there as well. Duncan will tell you all about those ones. Now, as some people have said, obviously commented on this decision and aesthetic, but I think it was also done in a way to kind of honour the shipbuilding past and things like that.
No doubt, it's nice.
There is a reason for this aesthetic.
And it's going to have, I believe it's going to have some feature lighting and various other things there.
Much better than the dreary previous footbridge.
Which was just a very basic, generic type concrete footbridge.
And we got some photos from it before it was demolished.
We did.
It's the main thing.
And they are in the archive. Okay, back to you then for South Lanarkshire.
I was going to say, I'm going to have to leave North Lanarkshire to you.
Oh, that's fine. That's no problem.
South Lanarkshire, the big one, we visited this the other day. This was Green Hills Road in East Kilbride.
Yeah, that's a good scheme.
Yep, it is. It's fantastic. So this is a £25.7 million scheme that seems to have been going on for a very long time.
It seems to have been quite heavily affected by COVID, the COVID shutdown, this one.
How long has it been going on for, Stuart? It's good 3 years.
3 years,
yeah,
I think,
they seem to be slowly getting there bit by bit by bit. I mean, what I don't like... I don't like about it is it doesn't link all the way up to Phillips Hill. It doesn't go all the way towar's the GSO. It would be nice to have that alternative to go through rather than having to take Kingsway and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm no doubt that local residents were very happy with it. The amount of house building that's going on there as well. Now there's an interesting historical bit about this, as I see you glancing towards the GGTS, but it does follow the alignment originally of an old plan route.
Yeah, and just
roughly,
remember for our new listeners, GGTS,
the Greater Glasgow Transportation Study.
Yes.
Which, of course, was an old study.
Yes.
Now, if we look back on it, I believe that was, when was that? 1967?
768, yep.
Yep.
So we, by looking at the proposal from 67, 68, I think that part of what is now Green Hills Road was originally going to be the Hamilton-Paisley motorway, or certainly very close to it.
Yeah.
As part of the sort of a southern orbital route around the Glasgow conurbation, around the south of East Kilbride. Obviously, we had the GSO, the Glasgow Southern Orbital Road E726 that was completed in 2005, kind of took on the role of part of that proposal.
Yeah.
That's
nice ones.
It's an interesting one. And just out of interest, the section of A726 that is being dualled now, so taken all the way out to Green Hills Road, that was always allowed for, that dualling. So if we look at the big plan up here, you'll see the red dashes on the A726. You can see that was always an improvement proposed for after 1990. So we finally got it 30 years later than originally planned, but it's here.
Yeah. No, it's good to see it coming along. That'll finally all be completed. I'm thinking quite soon. There have been some parts of it that's gone over budget slightly, probably just for how long it's been going on.
Construction, inflation, COVID, all these disruptors.
It's got into that. We'll stick with East Kilbride.
I think that was Wills Brothers as well, that project.
It was Wills Brothers. Yeah. But we will stick with East Kilbride for the next one, and this is Stewartfield Way.
Also known as the East Kilbride Northwest Bypass.
Yeah. Okay.
As it was in our old days when we used to.
So this is the road that some people argue is quicker than going through the town. If you go around the top, and it puts you up the Kingsgate Roundabout.
Yeah.
Roundabouts. There's a series of roundabouts, an unholy trinity of horrible roundabouts right up there that I utterly despise. But anyway, that's a separate.
It's another podcast. Yeah.
It's another podcast. Stewartfield Way. They've always planned to dual this. It was built in such a way to be dualled. Back when it first opened, I believe it was the 1980s.
Yeah. So. The original project, to give you some background, was originally proposed by the East Kilbride Development Corporation. There was always going to be a northwest bypass of the town. It was always proposed to be dual carriageway. However, as the economic situation of the 70s and various other things came in, it was delayed. And then eventually, when Strathclyde Regional Council had the money to go ahead with it, they decided to build a single carriageway route, but with earthworks to allow for future dualling.
Good idea.
And that's the situation that we have today.
So there's been a big push for this, and this has gone on for years. Quite controversial. Quite a lot of people not too happy with it. Yeah. It's looking to cost around about 62 million. That's quite high for a local road. And it's
only half of it now as well. So it's from the James Hamilton Heritage Loch back to Kingsgate Roundabout.
So it doesn't go all the way to Phillips Hill.
No. That bit's now off. Now, there's a reason for that.
Right, but the thing is, Stuart, you either do it all or you don't. This is my thing. Is because otherwise, it's great dual carriageway, and then you just come screaming to a halt.
The eastern end is the busier of the two sections.
Oh, it's a local route as well.
But there is something else you need to bear in mind. At Kittock Glen, which is west of the Heritage Loch, there is a large gorge, and the Kittock Glen Bridge that crosses there is huge. You don't realise when you're driving over, but it's a massive viaduct.
Yeah.
So I imagine the expense of building a parallel viaduct
would have kicked up the cost massively.
Probably at least doubled that figure.
Well, that's interesting.
So that's something to bear in mind. So I do wonder if that's a factor.
Stuart and I struggled to get latest news on this, if it's actually happened. It seems to have all been green-lit. The council are insistent on it.
There's been some controversy locally about it.
Very, very much politically about this one. So it looks like it is happening, but we cannot tell you when, to be honest with you. There's certainly no signs there at the moment.
The latest information we found was that it was due to start this year.
And has it?
Not so far.
Not so far. There you go. So that's South Lanarkshire. What about South Lanarkshire's friendly neighbour, North Lanarkshire? I think I'll hand this back to you, Stuart.
Yeah, so North Lanarkshire Council have fully embraced the city deal idea and have a number of schemes that have been proposed. Now, we've spoken about these on previous podcasts. And the main one is the Pan-Lan Corridor. So it's the Pan-Lanarkshire Corridor, which basically aims to link up the M74 at Hamilton with the M80 at Auchenkilns. And that is delivered through multiple projects that are currently proposed. Now, of the components, let me just outline what the components are. So this
is ambitious. Yeah. I'm sitting here with a big smile.
There's the Ravenscraig South approaches. Okay, Ravenscraig being the huge brownfield site where the steelworks used to be.
Yep.
So there's the south approaches to that. Basically what that involves is the completion of the dualling of Airballs Road in Motherwell. Now that is the section immediately adjacent to the Strathclyde Park entrance, just near Junction 6, off the Hamilton Road. So there's a small section here, about 200-300 metres, that hasn't been dualled yet.
No, that's right. It's a 2+1.
Yeah, so that'll get done. Then there's the more expensive bit. And that is running a dual carriageway from the Airballs Road, Windmill Hill Street Junction, straight through where the Evans Halshaw car showroom is, all the way across there, under the West Coast Main Line, into the Ravenscraig site, linking up with the existing dual carriageway at the Ravenscraig Sports Centre, the regional sports centre. Okay, now, there's been an update since the last time we spoke about this. Right. The contract for the railway bridge has been let and is now on site. So there's a £16 million contract let to Story Contracting.
They're doing that as an advanced job, which is fair enough. Yeah. Network Rail always like to be very involved with these things as well.
Exactly. So Network Rail are delivering that on behalf of North Lanarkshire Council. That's on site at the moment. The plan is they'll build a new bridge off-site, and then sometime next spring the new bridge will be rolled into position over a weekend when the West Coast Main Line is closed to rail traffic. Straight on the back of that, they will be looking to let a contract to build the road. So from Airballs Road, Windmill Hill Street, right through under the new railway bridge, all the way up to the regional sports facility. That is due to fall next year as well, 2023, with completion 24-25. Okay, I believe that is valued at somewhere in the region of something like 30 million. The overall Ravenscraig access roads, I think, is currently sitting at 90 odd million. Now that includes this section to the north of Ravenscraig. So the A723, as it comes out of Motherwell, to the north of Motherwell.
Yeah. As
that
one that goes up to Chapel Hall.
Yes. Yeah. So as you leave Ravenscraig in the dual carriageway, the A723, which runs from there all the way up to the M8 at Chapel Hall, as John says, that will be dualled. Now that's another road that was built by Strathclyde Regional Council in the 90s, originally on the route of the Hamilton to Cumbernauld motorway.
Yeah.
Again, built as a single carriageway road, but with an allowance for future dualling. Yes. So that additional carriageway has now been slotted in there.
And you can see this because there is a bridge that they done a number of years ago where they replaced the railway bridge there, and they've left basically a spare span for the other carriageway to go under. And there is a new roundabout that went in for a new development. Is it not the crematorium?
At the crematorium, the gyratory.
So you see it there, and it's blatantly, even the signs say dual carriageway. You know, so
So that will all come along, and what that will do in effect is provide a dual carriageway link from the M74 Junction 6 all the way to the M8 at Junction 6A. At Chapel
Wonderful.
Hall. Okay, that's phase one.
Well, wait, there's more?
There's much more. There's much more. So North Lanarkshire Council also have proposals for an East Airdrie Link Road, which is effectively an eastern bypass of Airdrie. It's a new A73. So the A73 being completely rebuilt on a new offline corridor.
Well, that's Christmas come early for anyone who lives in Airdrie.
It is, because the A73 is a bit of a nightmare for anybody who still...
It goes through the town. Well, almost through the town. It's an absolute night. To go to Cumbernauld is brutal.
Plus, it comes through Chapel Hall. It goes through the villages like Stand and places like that as well. So this new road will bypass that. Now, this project, although desired by the council, was given a huge boost last year when it was decided that the Monklands Hospital would move to the Western Moffat site, which is also east of Airdrie.
Right.
And the East Airdrie Link Road is a key part of that proposal.
Right. Well, there's nobody that's going to object to holding up a hospital going in, so it's pretty safe then.
Yeah, so to give you an idea of what they're proposing there, that will be a single carriageway road. Mm-hmm. The roundabout on the A73 just north of Newhouse Interchange, right?
I know the one.
The new road will branch off there. It will go east around Chapel Hall, proceed north towards Airdrie. It will eventually cross the A189 between Airdrie and Plains, the village of Plains. Head north again, round the east of North Airdrie, coming out just north of Stand, linking with the A73 just at the dual carriageway section, just south of Cumbernauld.
And how come they're not making this dual carriageway?
I guess cost is a big implication.
Is it though? Yeah. I mean, if you're already going through and you're doing all these things, an extra carriageway, it's probably an extra 10, 20 million. Yeah. In the grand scheme of what this is going to cost.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was something that was looked at, and the consultants that they have working for them are still looking at the route corridors. They have now narrowed it down to like 2 or 3 corridors, and I think a final announcement is due this year, but there's very little difference between them. Where they seem to vary quite a bit is at the northern end. Does it go all the way past Stand, or does it rejoin the A73 south of Stand? So that's kind of up in the air at the minute.
Okay.
The cost of that, I think, is tens of millions. I wish I had looked up the exact figure for that, but I think combined it's like 190 million for all the Ravenscraig access and the East Airdrie Link Road. That's the current prices that we're looking at. And I think if that all goes ahead, I think the South Lanarkshire Council would be delighted if everything was finished by 2027. So that's only 5 years away.
There's... Yeah, it's optimistic. I mean, what have they done so far? They've got the Glen Boig, haven't they? That opened.
So they also had the Glen Boig Link Road that was completed back in 2018, 17?
2018, and it was a nice, tidy little road. It was handy.
Yep.
But there have been a few that have kind of fallen by the wayside. They have problems. So there was a Moss End Link Road. Do you remember that was going to link Eurocentral up?
That was cancelled because of objections of local residents. There is also... there was the other one.
The rail terminal roundabout.
Yeah, that's all still scheduled to go ahead. There's also a park and ride facility at Eurocentral that's being looked at. North Lanarkshire did have a couple of other proposals round about the steps and Muirhead areas for link roads for housing and the like. They have all fallen off the agenda for the moment. They've been put on pause. And they also have the Motherwell Town Centre hub, which is basically the completion of the Motherwell Ring Road. But the section that's being built now is only going to be used for buses and taxis at the rail interchange to take them away from traffic, through traffic. Right. I think, though, the theory is that the Ravenscraig infrastructure improvements, they will almost act as an eastern bypass of Motherwell.
I was going to say, do you think it will save much time, this
yes.
thing that links up between those two? Because I go through there quite a lot, past, these places, and it's never held up for me.
Try it on a Saturday afternoon going north on A723.
The football's on or something,
and you'll easily be queued from Motherwell Town Centre all the way back towards the petrol station that's down the bottom of the hill, the Jet Garage.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for traffic to queue back there on very busy days. So yeah, it would bring some relief. Believe it or not, there is actually a lot of traffic that goes from Hamilton and goes through Motherwell up to the motorway that way. And you see a lot of heavy goods vehicles that come off the M74 as well and head for Eurocentral, and they go up the A723 rather than going round by the A725 and the M8.
Yeah. Because Wraith is better. It's not. It still can be a nightmare.
Totally. Yeah. Right.
Interesting.
So
right.
Interesting one in North Lanarkshire. Yeah.
Right. We're ready for Falkirk.
Yeah, do Falkirk first. Passing to you for that.
Okay.
Not good news from Falkirk, I understand. No,
interesting news though. So there's Falkirk and West Lothian have a joint job they've been talking about for years. So, bit of a history lesson. There's a road that links the M9 and the from the M9 at Junction 4 Lethallen all the way down to the M8 Junction 4 at Whitburn, which is known as the A801. It's
yes.
often known as the Avon Gorge Road. It's a terrific road with sections of dual carriageway and also sections of 2+1.
Built in the 70s?
Built in the 70s as kind of part. It was the county councils who kind of done this around about the time when the M8 and the M9 were built.
Basically to let you cut the corner.
Cut the corner. We don't have a lot of historical info on it because we just haven't really looked at this area too much back when we were the erstwhile Glasgow Motorway Archive. But we're starting to get information through. Anyway, this road's great apart from the middle bit. This is the Avon Gorge bit that wasn't upgraded. Now, if you look at the maps either side, you will see at the roundabout, they actually done some of the advanced works for where the road would bypass the Avon Gorge. And you see these kind of unused spurs from the roundabouts either end, and the road kind of, well, they haven't built the road, but you can see where they've kind of carved through and the trees are gone. So anyway, for years and years and years and years, they wanted to bypass this section at the Avon Gorge because it's very twisty, it's narrow, there's a horrible junction in it. And a lot of HGVs use this road, especially coming from Grangemouth and stuff like that. So there's the two of the councils have got together, also with funding from, I believe they were even getting funding from Transport Scotland. And the city deals stuff to do this because it's a big job because a large viaduct is needed. This I think they were just looking at single carriageway for this, but it would be a huge thing. So anyway, this has been going on for years, and it looked like it was nearly going to happen, but it has been pushed back. It's not cancelled, but it's pushed back ever so slightly. To allow other more urgent, what the Falkirk Council see as more urgent projects to go ahead. Okay. So for the first round of the UK government's levelling up funding, which we explained earlier, Falkirk Council have successfully bid for 20 million to create a new bridge that will allow pedestrians and cyclists to safely cross around Westfield Stadium, so in Falkirk, which will all become dual carriageway as part of the project. So this is one of the things that they're prioritising. They're kind of looking at doing that. So this is this new bridge that goes over the junction, and they're dualling parts of it's actually the A9.
It's still the A9.
This is the A9 dualling nobody talks about. That's actually happening in Falkirk. So they're reviewing that to ensure it remains affordable, given all the costs going on with the industry. The other thing that they looked at was the Junction 3 of which is the Boroughmuir Junction on the M9.
Is that the one where the wee maintenance depot sits?
That's the one where the road maintenance
just to the
depot
west.
is.
Okay.
Now that actually has only south-facing slip roads or east-facing slip roads, and it's a nightmare for folk in Bowness and these places.
Coming from the south, coming from Edinburgh, that's the junction that's signed for Bowness, isn't it? On the E905, is it? Or the E904?
Yeah, and then 04. And you go along there. But people have always found it quite difficult if you want to get to the M9, especially if they want to head north or they want to head, west or whatever. They've got to actually go all the way up to Falkirk. Or they've got to go down to the Philpston Junction too. Which is circuitous and irritating. So people have been campaigning for this. So they're going to be doing that junction up. That'll be a full access diamond type junction. So new slip roads will go there. So it'll be even easier to access the M9.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's what they're doing.
And then there's another upgrade in the M9, did you say?
Yes, there is.
In fact, two upgrades still in the M9 in various parts. In Falkirk there's one. Is that right?
Okay, so they are doing some improvements to the motorway junctions there, but it's minor, but it's mostly the roads that surround it. But further down at Winchburgh, so this is down between like kind of Kirkliston and Philpston and these areas, there is a massive new development that's happening down there on those ones, and they are going to be putting in a new junction there.
That's all part of that housing development and huge expansion of that area. There's a new railway station going in as well, is that right?
Hopefully, yes. They're wanting to put in a station at Winchburgh, but I believe they've basically started work now on that new motorway junction. I think it'll be 1B or 2A. I don't know what it's going to be called. I think it's 1B.
I think it's 1B.
Something like that.
So going back to Avon Gorge, you were saying that's been paused because there's other projects on the M9 that are all being prioritised over it. So what's the other one?
The other one they've got this. So I've got here. It's road improvements at Champney have already been approved by Falkirk Council as part of its budget. The newly designed slip road would change the road layout slightly. Unsuccessful bid for levelling up cash, free up money of the council's capital budget. So that there is us talking about a realigned slip road there.
Right. Okay. So is that junction 4 or 5? on the M9?
I know they're doing something up at 5.
Yeah, because there is a lot of work going on round about there in Falkirk.
This is what I mentioned, is they're doing a slight upgrade.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're doing the dualling there of the A9, so they are realigning the slip road there at Junction 5, it looks like.
Interesting. It's worth a look. I was up there a few weeks ago, and I could see there was a lot of work, but I didn't get near it. I'll need to go back and have a proper look, see what's going on. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
But they are going to see for this Avon Gorge. It's something expensive. So the councillors have agreed that the round 2 of the UK's Levelling Up Fund would be a joint bid to continue the Avon Gorge project. So they are definitely going to do it. So councillors, they're going to scale and complexity of the Avon Gorge work it'd be premature to make a funding application at the moment for that.
Right, okay.
So what they're going to do is they're going to use this money, this levelling up money, and other city regions to do all these other little improvements that they want to do.
Yeah.
And then the Avon Gorge, see that as a pièce de résistance. They want to put in a separate bid for that and get that done.
Interesting.
Summarize everything I've just said. They're doing a lot of things around there, but the Avon Gorge is still going to happen, but just later on.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
interesting. Coming back to Winchburgh then, you said that had started on site already, didn't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's this full access diamond. RJ McLeod won that one.
Okay.
That's a £40 million job. It's quite expensive, but it does include a whole lot of access roads actually into Winchburgh as well.
To get you to the junction, yeah.
So it's Winchburgh's boomtown, so to speak. It's they're doing a lot there. So
Edinburgh? Is that a good point?
They're Sheriff Hall. So that's a big job at Sheriff Hall.
And that's a trunk road scheme led by Scottish Government Transport Scotland.
So what they've decided on here is they're going to whack in a flyover over the whole thing.
Yeah.
This was decided quite a while ago. There was a review of this project to see if it was needed at the time as part of a kind of Scottish Government's review into some of the trunk road schemes, which I'm not going to go into huge detail of that. But this job here, it was approved back in 2021 or something like that. Last year it's gone through, but we don't have a huge amount of news coming out on that yet, when that's going to start and what that's going to happen, unless you know something I don't. But
no, there's not been much news. It's just that, as you say, it has been approved, so it'll be interesting to see. Just thinking, while we're talking trunk road schemes, that might be a good opportunity just to mention some other ones that are on the go. So we also have the Lawrencekirk Junction on the A90. That's also been approved, but there's no definitive timescales for construction there. And the Longman Roundabout in Inverness, just south of Keswick Bridge.
Just waiting on money as far as...
That's also been approved. Again, we're awaiting funding. A9 dualling, the upgrade there.
Yeah, so basically all the schemes, apart from Pass of Burnham to Tay Crossing and the Killiecrankie to Glengarry, I believe, are now at made orders.
Which means can be taken to tender for construction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need a bit of money to do that, though.
Yeah.
Don't want to disappoint any contractors. So that's something that we're going to see coming over the months and years and stuff like that. A9, I don't know. It's kind of a bit of a separate issue, but there is a job that is going on. So this is the to Martin to Moy. The advanced works have been in construction already. They've replaced a railway bridge here.
Okay.
This is for the dualling there. Now, for the actual road, they've narrowed it down to 3 contractors, but they haven't announced anything yet. So we're waiting on very much an announcement in the second half of 2022.
Okay.
And in which case, then they can start building the road. But no, they've done tree removal works and all the other things required for that there. I haven't been up there that way. We're getting Duncan down very soon, so I'm sure he'll have something to say, and he'll fill us in on it.
He'll fill us in. Sticking with the north, then, A96 had a recent opening and a development, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yep.
All the way at the other end. To be honest with you, it had the Hotigon roundabout improvement. So this is this has been going on for a long time. But what they ended up doing is they've opened this. This happened on the 16th of May.
Yeah.
So just a little over the month ago. That was done by Farron's Construction. It came in at 50 million. So this is a dual carriageway, southern to I suppose going linking round to the west. I'm trying to describe it. It's it just bypasses it, doing this kind of cut of the corner. They had to demolish some property to do it.
Okay.
It was kind of council owned stuff, and they've put that in there.
Yeah.
And this kind of while it hasn't removed the roundabout, has provided an alternative around it. Now, I've not used it on there, but some of the opinions from locals on this thing, from what I certainly read in the press, what I've seen on social media, and some people I know, has been fairly mixed.
Okay.
In how that is.
I take it there's huge increase in capacity compared to what the roundabout had. Is there now extra?
The roundabout was always quite small,
right?
And it wasn't signalised. And I always found like there was somebody. Do you remember there was somebody that came out and said when we were moaning about Sheriff Hall?
That's right. And someone said Hotigon was
the
much
chap's
worse,
name, but he was like, Hotigon's really bad.
Yeah.
And it actually, he's got a point. See, if you're not went on what was now the A92 and the A96, it was quite bad to get out from some of the other arms on it. It was always one of those junctions that was difficult to get onto.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare for pedestrians and other things like that. So this new improvement, yes, while it's added more traffic signals and stuff like that, it's probably made the situation to cross the road a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah.
For these things. But do you know what? I'm not going to talk more about it. I'm gonna wait until I drive it, and then I'll give my opinion on it. I'll review it. John's Road Review.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll do that before we have our A96 podcast, which I know Duncan is deep in preparation for later this year. Yeah, so
he keeps messaging me about it. It's going to be a doozy. So now that was the Aberdeen one. If you've got thoughts about it, maybe you live up there, let us know.
Continuing on the A96 theme from a trunk road point of view, there is also a review ongoing at the moment of the proposal to dual it from end to end, but we know as a minimum there's a commitment to at least dual it as far as Nairn, between Inverness and Nairn, with a bypass of Nairn and bypasses of the major towns along the corridor as well. So we know as an absolute minimum that's what's likely to happen. That's right. I think the sort of a report on the review or the need to dual the entire length should report later this year, I think.
Yeah, hopefully.
Jacobs, I think, that's maybe doing that review.
So Jacobs doing it. So Inverness Nairn is safe, but it's like any of these things, they cost a fortune. And it's a lot of the time it's how to fund these. Sure it is where are we going to get the money from?
Yeah,
with all these kind of things.
Okay. Coming south a bit then.
A little bit south.
Yeah, central Scotland. Is Perth and Kinross considered central Scotland?
Yeah, I would say so.
The heart of Scotland, yes.
I would say so. Well, they're fairly cracking on down here with the Crosstail Link Road.
Yeah.
So this is there were a few components to this. They done the phase 1 first, which was that improvement to that junction between Inverarmond Roundabout and Broxton.
Yeah.
So they done improvement to that junction and some of the roads around there. The next phase in this is the actual Crosstail Link Road, which is a brand new bridge that goes over, and it links all these places like Scone Palaces and these places. I forget the numbers of the roads.
Is that the A93?
I'd have to look at the map.
Yeah,
just
A91, that's the St Andrews Road. So I think it must be the A93. That's the one up through Perth, up past Scone Palace, up to Glenshee and all that, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, right now, anyone approaching Perth from that angle, so coming down through those places, it has to go through the town centre.
Which is not ideal.
Not ideal. So it does really, really make sense to have this road up here.
And did you see this tied in with some of that work that was done on the A9 a few years ago between Inverarmond and
Inverarmond and Broxton.
Yeah, there was a bit of work done, wasn't there? Was a new bridge went in there as well, new diamond interchange, was it?
There was. Well, it was always a junction there, but they just improved it.
Yeah.
Is what they done.
So that was all done in advance, yeah.
Yeah, the A93 and the A94, it'll be linking up and it'll go to, just at Scone.
Yeah.
Is where it'll go through.
Good.
So this will provide a brand new grade-separated junction north of Inverarmond.
Okay.
So you might be thinking, well, hold on. This is where the duelling's just happened. Mm-hmm. This is the older section of dual carriageway.
Right.
So they'll be putting in a junction. And this is actually, well, the advanced works are well on, put it that way.
Yeah.
They're doing that at the moment. So if you come up the road there, you'll notice that you've got like a 50-mile-an-hour limit and stuff, and that's going to be on for like a year and a half.
That's going to be worth a visit then?
Yeah, it's the whole thing with this new bridge. It's single carriageway. It's a Swaco have done it.
Yeah.
BAM Nuttall are the main contractor.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's worth seeing.
Yeah, good.
I've been up there for a while, so look forward to doing that one.
Now, people in the south of Scotland, we aren't ignoring you. It's just, I'm afraid, that there's actually not a great deal to report from the south.
This is a shame.
I know that there are borders and Dumfries and Galloway city deal type things on the go, but there's not really a lot to report at the moment. But we did have one opening recently on the trunk road system, John.
We did.
And we went to see it.
We did, the Maybole bypass.
Yes, and we were very impressed by it.
I loved it.
I
thought
did as well. I thought it was great. I thought it was finished to a very high standard.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these roads. I never drove down the 77 very often. I never kind of found myself frustrated at Maybole. So I suppose maybe as a local might appreciate it much more than me. But from an engineering point of view, I thought it was fantastic. Lovely rock cuttings and everything, these bridges and stuff like that. Terrific. Must save a bit of time and a huge safety improvement.
For the town.
Environmental.
Yeah.
Maybole's a nice little place.
It is.
To be honest, so that opened on right at the end of January, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sometime
and most of the work, if not all of the work, is now complete. So by the time we went down a few weeks ago, it was more or less 100% done. Mm-hmm. Well worth a visit.
Yes. So that's that one. But yeah, it's a shame. Back to Bruce and Galloway. Sorry we don't have much information there, to be honest with you. We had a fantastic trip down there.
We did.
A number of months ago. We drove the A75 from end to end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm just wondering if there's any projects that you guys are aware of out there that we haven't discussed and you'd like to know more about them, drop us a line, let us know
Please do.
about them, and we will do a bit of digging and see what we can find out about.
And send us your opinions as well. I mean, if you've got something to say about some things or an insight, or maybe you've used one of these improvements or you're currently stuck in roadworks somewhere, let us know. It's interesting.
Definitely. A very interesting one this month, John.
I like it. I like these bulletin ones. I'm looking forward to this.
Definitely. Coming up shortly, podcast-wise, we will be celebrating the 40th anniversary of Keswick Bridge.
Wow.
So that's coming up in August. So look forward to that. We may have a new booklet for that. That's good. So people can.
When he says may, he means we will.
We will have a new booklet and a new web page and a new article.
That's good. Do you know what? Match. It will be the first. Well, it'll be the most northern-based article we'll have on the website.
Yep. If you're listening to this podcast prior to the 3rd of July, we will be having a stall at the Glasgow Vintage Vehicle Trust in Bridgeton. Now, you're away sunning yourself in Spain, so it'll be myself and Wojciech and perhaps one other volunteer from the archive who'll be there manning that stand. So if you want to say hello, come to see the bus garage because it's fantastic.
It is.
It's a great facility.
It's a good day out with the family, actually.
If you've never visited it, really recommend that. Come down and see the bus garage and come round and say hello to us, and you can ask us any questions you have.
You won't miss them. No, honestly,
you won't miss that. And we're also coming back to Glasgow Doors Open Days this year. We will be doing a talk in September, a Saturday in September. Date is to be confirmed. That'll be confirmed shortly. And the topic this year is the M8 at 50, Glasgow and the motorway, where we'll be talking all about the development of the motorway, how it came about, some of its unique engineering architectural features, and why it remains a very controversial part of the city's infrastructure. An important part, a strategic part. Of the city. So we'll be discussing that in September. And we have one or two other things coming up as well down the line that we will be keeping you up to date with.
Terrific. Yeah.
In the meantime, you can hear all of our podcasts as usual on the usual podcast places: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Amazon. We're everywhere now. Audible, we're even on there.
Are we on Audible as well?
Yes,
I didn't
we
even
are.
know that.
Yes, we're
I'll
on
start
there
getting adverts for my own podcast and I'm watching YouTube, I think.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, and YouTube, of course, we do upload them to YouTube. That's a good point.
Yeah.
If you do enjoy it, please leave us a review. Follow us on Podbean, who are our host provider. A quick shout out to the sponsors.
That's right.
HBS,
HBS.
Eastford Excavations. Thank you, guys, for your support. It's always appreciated.
If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to do all these great things. So, no, really, really appreciate it.
Indeed.
Of course, there is social media. Always mention it. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram, also on Twitter as well. Your kind of daily fix of all the kind of road-related goodness and things we're doing. And as we're branching out across the rest of Scotland, we're sharing things from even further afield now.
Yeah.
It's terrific.
And something I've not said for a while, if you know anyone with roads-related records and they're looking to be rid of them and you don't know what to do with them, get in touch. admin@scottishroadsarchive.org.uk. We'll be more than happy to take it off your hands.
Yeah, get it scanned in and shared, and of course you'll be credited.
Exactly. So we will see you all very soon.
Yes.
Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you then.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.